All right, so I have Ralph Lauren for my designer report. I've recorded this once before and I'm hoping this one works. So we'll try it out once again. So before I really delve into Ralph Lauren and his designs, I just want to talk a little bit about fashion. So fashion is the aesthetic expression in a time and context regarding clothing, footwear, lifestyle, all that stuff. It's usually described as the system that activates dress, and style is an expression that lasts over many seasons, usually connected to culture movements, symbols, class. So we'll actually talk about Ralph Lauren's specific style. A lot of designers have their own style. So we'll talk about Ralph Lauren's style and how his style was actually at times connected to symbols and cultural movements and things like that. So the man, he was originally named Ralph, and I really don't know how to pronounce this. I tried looking it up, don't know how to pronounce it, but that was his last name. And when him and his brother were young boys, they got teased at school a lot, and they wanted to change their last names. So they both decided they would change his last name to Lauren. So that is why his name is Ralph Lauren. A fun fact. But he is an American fashion designer. He was born in New York City in the Bronx to Jewish immigrants. He was the third of four siblings. He attended Baruch College for Business, so he did get a degree in business. And he served for a short period of time in the United States Army before working as a sales associate at Brooks and Brothers, which was a tie company. A year after becoming a salesman at said tie company, he started his own line at age 28. And then shortly after leaving the military, he married Rick Beer and had 3 children. Here are some pictures of him and his wife. So his business began in 1967. It was called the Ralph Lauren Corporation, and he began with men's ties. It actually started because he was working as that sales associate at the tie company, and he wanted to make ties. He wanted ties that were bigger and bolder and more flashy and like things like that, but the company said no. So he's like, all right, well, I'll go make my own ties. And so that's why he started his own corporation for ties. And then after ties, he expanded a little bit to a full menswear line, which he called Polo, and he operated out of a showroom in the Empire State Building and made deliveries to stores himself. So here is him with his ties, and then the most popular tie was called the striped tie, which this young man is featuring. In 1969, the department store Bloomsdale sold his men's line exclusively, which was really good for his business. And he was able to develop his business to the full menswear line with a $30,000 loan. So he didn't just do that. He did get a loan to expand his business, which served him really well. And his design logo is actually the polo player. And it was created by a friend, a tennis pro named Renee. And this is the equipment that's used for polo, and it's done on horses. So this gives a little polo background. And there's him in the shop. And then here is the official polo shirt with his polo logo on there. And so I wondered why he chose polo as his logo, which I'm sure many of you are. And so I researched that a little bit, and they said that when he needed a name for the label, he wanted something that sounded right for the lifestyle he had admired on movie screens and in the pages of magazines like Esquire. And he chose polo to represent his brand, as he believed the sport itself was representative of the aspired class and style of his clothing. So he was, and we'll see this later on in this presentation, he was a big fan of the movies, and he loved the style of the movies and just the thought of the American dream that came with movies. And so that is where he got his polo logo from. And we'll actually talk about the polo bear later on as one of his logos for his business. But as I said earlier, the film was a big part of his style. And not only that, it was a big like starting point for his business. It really drew attention to his business, and people started buying his clothes after he got them in film. And specifically the film The Great Gatsby in 1974. He designed the wardrobe for the main character of that. And he also designed clothes for The Wild Party and Annie Hall, which are other movies. But he didn't design costumes. He actually just used his designs that he already had in his business. People could go, watch The Great Gatsby, love the clothes, go to his store, get the exact same clothes that the guys were wearing in the movie. So it was a great, it was a smart move on his part, because he got a lot of business from that. And he's still a movie fan. He actually just created a fall collection that's inspired by Downton Abbey, because he really loved the fashion in Downton Abbey. So films are a big part of his thing. He's featured on over 100 global magazine covers, including Digest, Time, Vogue, Town and Country, so many different ones. In 1971, the Great Gatsby film actually sparked his women's line, which started men's suits tailored in a classic men's style. In 1970, he was awarded the Coty Award for designs. And then in 1981, he opened a store in London and took the company public in 1997. He was actually the first designer to have his own store, which was a big thing. And he became popular based on the timelessness of his style. It's a style that'll last. A lot of people like it, and it looks good on everyone. So that is something that sparked his popularity, and as well as his branding. He did a great job of his branding. He wasn't just selling fashion, he was selling a lifestyle, and he often said this. He was trying to sell the American dream. He was trying to sell the clothes that would make people feel that freedom and spirit that you get when you live in America. And this lifestyle was a big part of what inspired him with his fashion. In addition, his popularity increased dramatically among subcultures in the 80s and 90s for several reasons. His spin-off lines were picked up by really everyone. The first thing that sparked this was the rise of hip-hop. Exactly when hip-hop was coming around, 2 of his designs were released that were like linked with hip-hop. So if you liked hip-hop, you got his designs. And that was the American flag right here, and then the polo bear. So this is when the polo bear came out. And that design was actually inspired because he was given a gift from a friend of a teddy bear with like a knit sweatshirt on, and he thought it was super cute, and it inspired him to create this logo and this sweater shirt that he hadn't had in his business before. So that was a big part. Another part was that there was a huge gap in the market that Ralph Lauren noticed, and it was sportswear. They had new fabrics and textiles, and no one had created anything out of it. So he started his sportswear line, which included this 92 Stadium jacket, which was very popular. And then there was the skate and snow culture. So he created his own snowboarding collection with different color palettes, and his work was featured in music videos. And so his designs for that were called like the holy grail of street culture. It became extremely popular. And so at this point, his designs were going to all classes. And so that is how his business really just grew tremendously. So what do the critics have to say about Ralph Lauren? I tried looking that up and I did not find much, but a lot of them did say that he wasn't very innovative. He had a timeless style with classic American clothing that appealed to a wide spectrum of people, which is exactly what he was going for. But for other designers, they didn't think that was very innovative. But he liked that style, and America liked that style. So I guess that's what matters, right? So here are just some of his designs. They're more the upper class compared to the last styles that we had. But here's Ralph Lauren himself, modeling his own designs. Yeah, so we've talked a little bit about how his business began and himself, and so moving on to where he is now and where his business is now. So he's actually a funder of cancer research initiatives. This is a huge part of who he is and what he's known for now. And that might have been sparked because in his 40s, I believe it was, he actually got cancer and he fought it off. And so he's had experience with cancer himself, and he's really passionate about cancer research. He also has a personal fortune of more than $6 billion. He is one of the richest people in the world. His company has a lot of money. He likes to collect rare cars and classic cars. I mean, classic sort of goes with his style, so I'm not surprised on that. He has a massive Colorado ranch, and he actually stepped down as the CEO of his own company to become one of the executive runners. So he was still at the top of his company. He was just sort of running it more from behind and letting someone else take the reins, which is interesting. So he's actually not CEO right now. So now I want to share just a short video clip about his cancer research and what other people have to say about it, because it's somewhat of a more recent thing. I mean, he started his business in 1967 or whatever, so this is a little bit more recent thing. I won't play the whole thing because it's kind of long, but he was one of the main people to use fashion as a way to help fund cancer research. He would create pink polos for shirts and pink ties, and really went after the breast cancer and tried to help that, and so just lots of things. So, oh no, let's play this for you. There we go. So I'm going to start it in 2011. Here we go.
Response to breast cancer.
All right. So that's just a little bit about his cancer research and initiatives. So what does his business look like now? And the centerpiece of his fashion empire is his sportswear line. It became super popular, and it's still the thing that people think about when they think of Ralph Lauren. They think of the polo and the sports line and golf, and it's activities like that where you're wearing the Ralph Lauren polos. And then his empire includes now fragrances, kids clothing, denim, home furnishings, luxury clothing, dining. It's expanded so much. That includes so many other things. This is one of his home furnishings. He was one of the first fashion designers to offer immersive shopping experience. One of the first companies actually to do that, which is now super popular, like at IKEA and other places. This is very popular now, and it sort of started with things that he did. And he even has instructions on how to arrange his home collections and all of that stuff. So, and then here's some footwear and fragrances and then sportswear. So his business is now much bigger. And part of this big growing business is that he actually creates and designs some Olympic uniforms. He designed these ones right here in 2012. They're modeled by US athletes. He designed these for them. And he also designed some dresses and things for Oscars. This was in 1999, this one in 2016 for Kate Winslet. So he is very well-known fashion designer. His business is large and expanding. So I just want to conclude with some of the quotes that other people have talked about and some things that he said himself to really get an idea of what he is. So Robin Giveon is actually one of his critics, and this is what they said. If this country has anything close to a national designer, it is Lauren. The King of Americana is regularly entrusted with creating the Olympic uniforms. His financial support helped to restore the flag that inspired the Star-Spangled Banner, and he dresses first ladies. And then Lynn Devon worked with him and said everyone from the design team goes and throws whatever they find inspiring, and he would come and pick a room that he wanted us to go with. He would listen quietly, but then he would be very opinionated. He was very passionate. And then Ralph Lauren himself says, I don't think I'm the gift of the world. I just do what I do, and I love it, and I've been lucky. So people have often called him just a hardworking man who had a dream and who wanted a style to look like the movies. And it seems like his dream came true because his business really reflects that. And here is my bibliography for my sources. So that is just a little bit about Ralph Lauren.